Thank you for a lovely evening. Good night, good night. It's been charming. Oh, Philip, this party really deserves to go down in history. I think a chicken is as good a reason for murder as a blonde, a mattress full of dollar bills, or any of the customary unimaginative reasons.
Cat and mouse, cat and mouse. Which is the cat and which is the mouse?
That's enough of that.
Mind your own business.
That's enough, Philip.
I told you before, mind your own business.
Rope didn't just break rules. It smuggled a crime past every censor in America. Hitchcock disguised gay sex as murder, timed orgasm to strangulation, and let two lovers kill on screen while Hollywood pretended not to see Grant. And Clift refused the roles. Stewart played a gay man he didn't know was gay. Censor/dialogue, hunting for it, the word no one dared speak. Actors survived 10-minute takes through moving walls and 8,000 fake Manhattan lights. The film bombed, then vanished for 30 years. These are 20 facts about Rope, and the most dangerous truth Hitchcock hid didn't explode until decades later. Fact 1. Now let's talk about the most subversive thing Hitchcock ever pulled off. That opening strangulation scene, it's not a murder, it's a sex scene. Hitchcock coded it so explicitly that it's almost shocking censors didn't catch it. The murder happens behind curtained windows. The victim's death scream corresponds to the rhythm and release of orgasm. Immediately after, the two murderers experience post-coital exhaustion, collapsed and breathing heavily. Then, in the most inspired touch, Brandon lights a cigarette, the standard 1940s Hollywood shorthand for "we just had sex." Hitchcock managed to show gay sex on screen in 1948 by disguising it as 1948 murder. He wasn't being subtle. He was being brilliant. Fact 2. Here's the kicker. Screenwriter Arthur Lawrence stated that Rupert Stewart's character was supposed to be gay and had previously had an affair with Brandon, one of the murderers. But everyone on set suspected that the somewhat naive Stewart didn't have a clue his character was homosexual. Lawrence observed, Jimmy Stewart was Jimmy Stewart, which meant not a whiff of sex of any kind. Stewart never publicly acknowledged understanding the homosexual subtext, and according to Lawrence, his performance suffered because of it. The character fell flat, lacking the sexual tension that was supposed to simmer beneath every scene Stewart was playing a gay man who didn't realize he was gay, which accidentally became the most meta commentary on closeted Hollywood you could imagine.
If it weren't that you seem to be carrying fear of discovery in your pocket. What? That's a gun, isn't it? And to tell you the truth, it really scares me a little.
Fact 3. Meanwhile, bisexual actor Farley Granger, who played the neurotic murderer Philip, was actually dating the film's screenwriter, Arthur Lawrence, during production. This wasn't just a fling. Their relationship would later inspire Lawrence's screenplay for The Way We Were. So one of the lead actors was sleeping with the guy who wrote his dialogue, and both were navigating Hollywood's violently homophobic landscape while trying to tell an explicitly queer story in code. Granger's real-life romance with Lawrence added authentic chemistry to the gay-coded performance, even if most of 1948 audiences didn't consciously recognize what they were watching.
Cat and mouse, cat and mouse. Which is the cat and which is the mouse?
That's enough of that.
Mind your own business.
That's enough, Philip.
I told you before, mind your own business.
Fact 4. Before Stewart was cast, Hitchcock had his dream lineup: Cary Grant as Rupert and Montgomery Clift as Brandon. Both actors turned him down flat. Why? Because both Grant and Clift were closeted and Rope was dripping with homosexual subtext. Grant was bisexual, Clift was gay, and both knew that playing overtly gay-coded characters could expose their private lives or destroy their carefully crafted public images. They feared the roles were too close to home. Grant's refusal reportedly created a rift between him and Hitchcock that lasted almost a decade before they finally reconciled for To Catch a Thief in 1955. Imagine the movie we could have gotten with two queer actors playing explicitly queer-coded roles, but 1948 Hollywood would never have allowed it.
I don't mind one way or the other, but I think the good cast that fits the story is what you see, because we have so few stars today, and the star doesn't necessarily guarantee you success anymore.
Fact 5. Stewart's frustration reached a boiling point during rehearsals. At one point, he sarcastically suggested to Hitchcock, "Since we're filming a play, we ought to bring bleachers into the soundstage and sell tickets." He felt completely sidelined by the technical demands, complaining that the really important thing being rehearsed here is the camera, not the actors. Stewart wasn't wrong. Hitchcock was so obsessed with choreographing the camera movements and the complex lighting transitions that the actors became almost secondary to the technical spectacle. Stewart later admitted it was worth trying. Nobody but Hitch would have tried it, but it really didn't work. Even the star of the movie knew the experiment was a failure while they were making it.
And personally, I think a chicken is as good a reason for murder as a blonde, a mattress full of dollar bills, or any of the customary unimaginative reasons.
Fact 6. The brutal filming process didn't just break equipment and schedules, it broke James Stewart. The unorthodox camera work and relentless rehearsal demands made Stewart so tense that he literally couldn't sleep at night during production. He was traumatized by the experimental filming process. Every day on set felt like performing live theater, except with a 500-pound camera stalking him and dozens of crew members moving furniture around him while he tried to remember pages of dialogue. Stewart later called the experience highly exasperating and initially swore that Rope would be his last collaboration with Hitchcock. He was done, finished, never again. Of course, he eventually reneged on that promise and made 3 more classics with Hitchcock: Rear Window, The Man Who Knew Too Much, and Vertigo. But for a while there, Stewart genuinely thought Rope had ended their partnership forever. Fact 7. Screenwriter Arthur Lawrence fought brutal battles with censors over seemingly innocent phrases. The term, "my dear boy," appears throughout the original script. It's a common British expression of affection. But in American English, especially in 1948, it carried heavier implications. Lawrence described how censors attacked the script. Every "my dear boy" was marked in big blue pencil. Homosexual, out, out, out. So it had to be cleaned up from all those English remarks. The censors were hunting for coded language, and they found it everywhere. Many dialogue changes were mandated before the film could be released, neutering some of the script's most explicitly queer-coded exchanges. Fact 8. The paranoia on set was suffocating. During filming, absolutely no one was allowed to mention homosexuality directly. Everyone referred to the subtext only as it. Lawrence stated absolutely no one mentioned homosexuality and only ever referred to the subject as it, nor were Leopold and Loeb ever mentioned. The film was loosely based on the real-life Leopold and Loeb murder case, in which 2 wealthy gay lovers killed a teenager to prove they could commit the perfect crime. But even referencing the real case was forbidden because it would make the homosexual coding too obvious. This Voldemort-style avoidance of the actual subject matter was necessary to get the film made at all in 1948 Hollywood.
They were all very nervous about it anyway. They never mentioned the word homosexual. They always talked about it. And I once said to Hitch, "You know, the original play was an English play, must have been based on Leopold and Loeb." He said, "Who? I don't want to hear."
Fact 9. Lawrence fought back with a genius strategy. In the Celluloid Closet documentary, he explained that he deliberately kept many explicitly queer lines from the original British stage play in the script. Why? To distract censors. While they were busy cutting the obvious gay references, they completely missed the more subtle queer-coded dialogue woven throughout. Lawrence admitted, "I don't think the censors at that time realized this was about gay people. They didn't have a clue what was and what wasn't." The misdirection worked perfectly. The censors thought they'd sanitize the script, but Lawrence had smuggled the authentic gay content through encoded language they didn't recognize. It was a masterclass in outsmarting institutional homophobia. Fact 10. All that subterfuge didn't save the movie. Rope bombed at the box office on its 1948 theatrical release. Lawrence attributed the failure to audience uneasiness with the homosexual undertones. 1948 audiences might not have consciously understood what they were watching, but they felt it. They sensed something transgressive and unsettling about the relationship between the 2 lead characters, and it made them uncomfortable enough to stay away from theaters. The film's poor performance reinforced Hollywood's belief that queer stories were box office poison, setting back LGBTQ+ representation in cinema for decades. Rope wasn't just a commercial failure. It became evidence that audiences would reject anything that smelled like homosexuality. Fact 11. Let's get back to the nightmare of filming those 10-minute takes. The stage-trained professional actors were terrified to flub a single line of dialogue because any mistake meant restarting the entire sequence from the beginning. Imagine memorizing 10 pages of dialogue, hitting dozens of precise marks while moving through a constantly shifting set, and knowing that if you slip up on page 9, everyone has to start over. Meanwhile, stage hands were literally pulling walls apart and whisking furniture away inches from the actors to make room for the gigantic Technicolor camera tracking behind them. The atmosphere on set was one of constant anxiety. Every take felt like walking a tightrope without a net.
Philip, would you mind helping Mrs. Atwater?
I'd be glad to. You sit down, Mrs. Atwater. I'll bring it to you.
Thank you so much, dear boy.
I really must apologize for David. I can't think what's keeping him.
Well, he's only in town for the weekend, Mr. Kenley, and David is a very popular young man.
Here, let me help.
Fact 12. John Dahl and Farley Granger, who played the murderous lovers Brandon and Philip, showed extraordinary courage with their performances. Lawrence stated there wasn't a word of dialogue that said the lovers were lovers or homosexual, but there wasn't a scene between them where it wasn't clearly implied. John Dahl and Farley Granger played Brandon and Philip's sexuality truthfully, and that took courage. In 1948, playing an explicitly gay character could end your career. Both actors knew the risks, but they committed to authentic, truthful performances anyway. Dahl's film career did end shortly afterward, he sucks. Whether because of typecasting or industry homophobia is unclear. Granger continued working but faced years of being pigeonholed into similar roles. They sacrificed their careers to tell a queer story honestly.
Can't have everything, and we did do it in the daytime. All right now, Philip?
Yes?
Good. You better put those away. Put them in my checkbook drawer behind that metal box.
Fact 13. Here's the final twist. After its disappointing theatrical run, Rope disappeared. Hitchcock bought back the rights to the film, along with 4 others from the same period, and withdrew them from circulation. He left them as part of his legacy to his daughter Patricia. For 3 decades, Rope became one of the infamous 5 lost Hitchcocks, films that movie buffs knew existed but couldn't watch. The cast wondered if their work would ever be seen again. The film finally re-emerged in theaters around 1984, more than 30 years after its original release. By then, audiences had changed. The experimental boldness that confused 1948 viewers was embraced by 1980 cinephiles, and Rope was rediscovered as a masterpiece of technical innovation in subversive queer storytelling.
Brandon, till this very moment, this world and the people in it have always been dark and incomprehensible to me. And I've tried to clear my way with logic and superior intellect. And you've thrown my own words right back in my face, Brandon.
Fact 14. The film's homosexual subtext didn't go unnoticed. Despite Hitchcock's careful coding, local censors recognized exactly what they were watching. And Rope was initially banned in Chicago, Spokane, Memphis, and Seattle. It was morally condemned in dozens of other towns. Chicago only allowed screenings after implementing an adults-only policy Sioux City. Iowa demanded that the opening murder scene be completely deleted before they'd show it. Some cities refused to screen it at all, no matter what cuts were made. The censors might not have understood the technical brilliance of the long takes, but they absolutely understood the queer subtext, and they wanted it gone.
Philip, for those 5 minutes, you've got to pull yourself together. Do you...
Brandon,
No,
Brandon.
look. I'm not going to get caught because of you or anyone else. No one is going to get in my way now.
Fact 15. Hitchcock loved messing with audiences, and Rope is full of self-referential Easter eggs. During the cocktail party, Mrs. Atwater mentioned seeing a movie called The Wonderful Something, a clear nod to Stewart's It's a Wonderful Life from 1946. Then she mentions an Ingrid Bergman film called Just Something, which was Hitchcock's way of referencing his own Notorious from 1946. It's the 1940s equivalent of a director putting Marvel references in a DC movie Hitchcock was having fun at his own expense. And most audiences never caught the jokes because they were too absorbed in the murder mystery unfolding on screen.
Oh, he was living in that new thing with Bergman. What is it called now? The something of the something. No, that was the other one. This was just plain something. You know, it was sort of, you know.
It was right on the tip of my tongue.
Mine too. It was just plain something.
Fact 16. Everyone talks about how Rope unfolds in real time with no cuts, except it doesn't. Although the film runs 80 minutes and appears continuous, it actually covers more than 100 minutes of story time. The formal dinner party lasts only 20 minutes on screen, but realistically would take at least an hour. The sunset through the windows happens impossibly fast, transitioning from golden hour to full darkness in about 30 minutes of screen time. Hitchcock used lighting tricks and careful actor choreography to compress time while maintaining the illusion of continuity. The real-time gimmick that everyone praised the movie for was actually an elaborate magic trick, and Hitchcock was the magician misdirecting your attention while he cheated the clock. Fact 17. Speaking of that sunset, let's talk about the insane lengths Hitchcock went to create it. The clouds visible through the apartment windows weren't real clouds. They were made of spun glass suspended on wires overhead. Production manager Fred Ahern discovered that spun glass was the perfect light-reflecting substance to simulate cloud movement. Those clouds changed position and shape 8 times during the film's 9 reels, each reconfiguration timed to specific dialogue cues and lighting transitions. This meticulous detail helped sell the passage of time in what was supposed to be a real-time movie. Someone on that crew had the job of repositioning fake glass clouds between takes, and honestly, that might be the most Hitchcock thing ever.
There, that's much better. A lovely evening.
Fact 18. But the clouds were nothing compared to the skyline. The Manhattan view through those windows was an exact miniature reproduction of nearly 35 miles of New York City skyline, illuminated by 8,000 incandescent bulbs and 200 neon signs that required 150 separate transformers. A dedicated technician sat at a light organ, basically a massive electrical switchboard, and manually controlled the lighting of the entire city skyline, flooding buildings with light on cue during specific lines of dialogue. This was the largest backing ever used on a soundstage at that time. Hitchcock could have just used a painted backdrop, but no. He built a working miniature city with 8,000 lights because he was obsessed with perfection, or possibly insane, maybe both.
Good night, good night. It's been charming. Oh, Philip, this party really deserves to go down in history. Well, come on, it's over.
Fact 19. To prepare for this insanity, Hitchcock demanded unprecedented rehearsal time. Rehearsals began January 12, 1948. Filming didn't start until January 22nd. For 2 solid weeks, everyone, actors, cameramen, prop crew, electricians, script supervisors, rehearsed the choreography without shooting a single frame of film. Numbers were taped to the floor marking everyone's exact positions, each corresponding to specific dialogue cues. It was less like making a movie and more like staging an elaborate ballet where everyone, including the camera, was a dancer. Hitchcock later admitted, "I undertook rope as a stunt. That's the only way I know how to describe it." Even the director knew he was attempting something potentially insane.
How many years has it been since I said, "Oh, it tickles"? Don't you tell me.
I hear Rupert's coming.
Well, he was invited, but you never know with Rupert.
I hope he does come. How is he?
Who is he?
Rupert Cadell.
Fact 20. The technical chaos on set was staggering. On some takes, there were as many as 5 boom operators recording sound simultaneously, all crammed onto an already overcrowded soundstage. The walls of the apartment set were built on rollers and suspended from the ceiling, moving in and out like puzzle pieces to accommodate the camera's path through the space actors had to step over electrical cables while delivering dialogue, pretending the cables didn't exist. In a 1948 interview, cinematographer Joseph Valentine explained, "In the reel in which we had 10 mics in operation, we had to have electricians operating 5 dimmer panels. The logistics were nightmarish, and it's a miracle they completed the film at all. So next time you watch Rope, remember, you're watching James Stewart play a gay character he didn't realize was gay, while 2 actually queer actors risk their careers to tell a story everyone on set could only refer to as it." You're watching Alfred Hitchcock pull off the most audacious trick of his career. Not the fake one continuous shot gimmick, but the real magic of sneaking an explicitly gay love story past 1948 censors by disguising it as a murder mystery. Rope nearly destroyed everyone involved, but it gave us something Hollywood had never seen before and wouldn't see again for decades. A broken, beautiful, chaotic masterpiece that proves sometimes the best films are the ones that almost don't survive their own creation. You'll never watch this movie the same way again. Now tell me, what city are you watching from and which movie should we expose next? If you think Rope was wild, we've got scandals that'll make this look tame. Drop your movie request in the comments, hit subscribe, and let's uncover Hollywood's darkest secrets together.